you have to realize, when you read from 15 to 21 of the Revelation, which is the last chapters, they all are talking about the finality of the prophethood, the plagues on the world, the wars of the world, the fall of Babylon, which is the new Babylon you're in, which is the 18th chapter, the coming of the new city, which is the last chapter, the formation of the 144,000, the 1,000 years they reigned with the Messiah, how they ride from. I'm just going through the whole thing. And they speak of, from that period on, after they're established in the 14th chapter, he says, look, the 14th chapter talks about the Messiah Jesus. All right? And it goes right there, and, well, let me go back. The 13th chapter establishes who the devil is first. And it tells you about the beast, and the second beast, and the 10 heads, right? It goes past that there, goes into the second beast. It takes you all the way up, then we cover the devil himself in the 13th chapter of Revelation. By the time we get to the 14th chapter, it starts to talk about the lamb, as they call him, the lamb, the gentle one, and 144,000 and how they would rise, and it goes through all of that, the new song that they would sing, which is the Quran itself, and how they'd be redeemed from the earth, and how they would be of men, of human beings, which is going all down to Revelation 14. In 14, certain angels who blew trumpets, and certain angels who were angels of death. They call them another angel in 18, another angel in 17, another angel. Then, after they establish who these 7 angels are in the 14th chapter, which represents the end plague and the end of the world, then they go on in 15th chapter and say, and I saw another symbol or sign in the heavens, great and marvelous, 7 angelic beings, having 7 last plagues. That means these are the 7 last plagues before the end of the world. Does this sound familiar? Sure it does. It takes you right back to Moses and Exodus, and when Moses went into Egypt to try to get the Israelites out for the last chance. After he had warned them and spoke to them and preached to them and performed miracles, then his last chance was 7 last plagues that was cast down on Israel, which made the Pharaoh eventually do what?
Let the children of
Let
Israel go.
my people go. That's what Moses said. And the white man today do not want to let you go. He's enjoying persecuting you. All right. In this 15th chapter, these 7 angels are the same 7 angels that represented the plague that came to Moses. When you get down to, are you or are you not going to let my people go? Minister Farrakhan was talking about that recently, about the fall of America. Honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke about it. The Holy Quran runs off a whole bunch of chapters, Zilzal, Qariya, Ariyat, Tariq, a whole bunch of chapters, and near the end of the last juice, they deal with the plagues of the world, the earthquakes, the cracking of the planet, the turning of a thunder, all types of things. These 7 angels represent the 7 last plagues and judgments on this new city. Why? Because it takes you from 15, because that's one of the shortest chapters in the book of Revelation, right into 16, and then 16 takes you to 17, which establishes the power of the beast when they're released, and 18, the fall of Babylon. Again, the 7 angels symbolize the 7 last plagues before the end of the world, the 7 wraths of the Most High. And I saw, as it were, a sea, right, of glass mingled with fire. He's talking about judgment, hell, like looking through that crystal city, like in the books of Revelation in the beginning. And them that had gotten what?
The victory over the beast.
They already conquered over the beast. They're coming to the end of the world. And over his
image.
They don't look like him, dress like him. They're back in their white robes again. They no longer live in the image of the beast. No more jelly curls. And
over his mark.
They no longer live by his monetary system. Because his mark has to do with his money, like he mentioned in 13. Anybody that don't have his mark will not be able to buy and sell. So that mark has to do with money, living under his money. We're going to have to break that, because remember, his money gets its worth from our country. He gets his worth for his dollar from Africa. The gold, the platinum, the silver, the diamonds is coming from our country. We will no longer be under that. Go ahead.
And over the number of his name.
That's the 666. He had his time. 666 symbolizes his birth date, and let me go right through it, right quick. June 6th of 1966, in the Dakota House on 72nd Street in Manhattan, across from Central Park, directly facing Cleopatra's Needle. They performed a necromancy, which is a resurrection of the devil. right up in Manhattan on 72nd Street, and Satan was released from Hades, from the pit, right then, after being tied. That was June 6th of 1966. Now, that may sound crazy until I start giving you some crazy coincidences. Now, here's one of them. They gave y'all a fleet of movies in that period of time. Those movies were such as The Omen, Rosemary's Baby, The Omen 2, The Demon Seed, The Exorcist, Exorcist 2, Exorcist 3. They ran through a whole bunch of things. The Devil's Reign. Now, in these movies, they gave themselves away. The war that broke out, which is called a 6-day war in Israel, around June 6th, right? They negotiated it at a place called Camp what?
David.
Now, you go back and watch that Omen movie, you're going to find out that Damien is in a camp called Camp David. Coincidence? Maybe. They say that he was born of a jackal. Correct?
Right.
Now, and the husband of the woman that gave birth to him was an ambassador who came from England to America. Correct?
Right.
And was shot while in the Catholic Church in the back of the head. And according to the movie, the woman gave birth by way of a jackal. Coincidence. The woman lost a baby and they replaced it with the demon seed. The Pope came here and gave a big speech in the Yankee Stadium on June 6th of 1966. Remember, the word coincident means two incidents. First you get one incident, the second is a coincidence. Anything over co is no longer a coincidence. All this is a coincidence now, right? Now, in that picture, The Omen, they show you that once that president was shot, that a man was at the graveyard and he took the responsibility for the little boy Damien. Then he was sent to Belgium, where he resides today. Coincidence that the computer, IBM, happened to come out of Belgium. And the master computer is called IBM 3666. And it's being programmed by somebody they won't tell the world who it is. And in his programming, he has managed from June 6th of 1966 to engage every continent in the world is in war. And every government is seeing financial fall away. And there's been a plague of new diseases and new drugs and all forms of pornography and degradation and evil since June 6th of 1966. Coincidence? Now, write IBM on the board, clear. And I want people to tell me, anyone who saw the movie 2001 Space Odyssey, I want y'all to see something. Because in that movie, the computer took over. Do y'all remember that?
Yes.
The computer took over. Now, watch when you write IBM, what comes before it? What comes before I?
H.
What comes before B?
A.
What comes before?
L.
H.A.L. H.A.L happened to be the same name of the computer that took over in the movie 2001 Space Odyssey. They said, H.A.L, why are you doing this to us, H.A.L? H.A.L happens to be an Arabic word meaning I can do it. You understand? Now, all of these are coincidences. Let me go back over them. It's a coincidence that the movie Omen was about a man who was a politician who was a Catholic. He got shot in the head while trying to stab the devil boy, right, in the church. Coincidence. Then his wife's name is Jackie, and Jackal and Jacqueline is the same. Coincidence. They happen to live up on 72nd Street in the Dakota House, which is a known Saint-Tonic building. Coincidence. The Pope happened to come in on June 6th of 1966, which would be 6666. Coincidence. And the Revelation 13 tells us it's the number of a man. Since then, there's been a rash of Saint-Tonic movies. One after another, every year. In fact, 3 or 4 times a year, there's some new movie about the devil and how he wins. Coincidence. Somebody is being educated. Then there's a rash after 66 of Saint-Tonic murders, Saint-Tonic cults. You notice something about your Saint-Tonic murders and Saint-Tonic cults? You hear about any black ones?
No.
No. Why? Why is there no black Saint-Tonic cults and mutilations of animals and mutilation of bodies? Why? How come? Black people follow everything else the white man says. How come they ain't following down that path? And I'm not talking racism, I'm talking common sense here. This is for real. Now, if you want to call the movie The Omen and the movie The Exodus and the movie, where did they start the Exodus at? In Syria, right? They started with the adhan, the call to prayer. And a Catholic preacher comes all the way from an Islamic country, which don't even make sense, all the way back to America to try to exorcise the devil out of this little girl. What's her name?
Reagan.
What's her name?
Reagan.
What? Can you say that one more time?
Reagan.
Now that's a heck of a coincidence, huh? Now think about that. Then the funny thing about it is, did the Christian preacher succeed in getting the devil out of Reagan?
No.
No. The devil threw him through a window and went on and possessed somebody else. You understand? Now, if you want to call all of these movies and all of these incidents coincidence, that's solely your prerogative. But I'm telling you, the devil is in the flesh. He came up out of the pit on June 6th of 1966, and the whole world is in danger. Not just white, black, Italian, Jew, Polish, Irish. The world is in danger. Whites who don't know that the devil's on earth is doing just as bad as you. You better believe it. Because they don't know. Don't think all white people know. All of them know they're the devil and they got a big conspiracy. They don't know. They find out gradually that what their people did is not normal. And they start saying, our ancestors did some treacherous and some cold-hearted things. Now, you want to take all these equations about the devil and call them a coincidence, that's your business. Now, let me ask you another question. What color was Damien, white or black?
White.
What color was Rosemary, white or black?
White.
Rosemary's baby?
White.
I mean, what does he have to do to tell you who he is? Tell me one movie where they depict a black man as a devil, except for Bill Cosby. And they did that and then made him the biggest black person you ever known. They gave him a movie first where they depicted him as a devil in a comedy. And then after that, he became the #1 black example. He had the best program and top rating. The best. You call that? You think it's a coincidence? When they say Arsenio Hall got to go off television because he's too black? How can a person black be too black? I've seen some black people. I travel around the world. I've been to Africa and I've seen some black people, and they're not too black for me. How can a man like Arsenio Hall be too black? I could see if they was looking at somebody with dreads, with some African culture, with an ox bottle or food on, sit up there with, I can understand him saying, no, he looks too black. But I can understand a guy sitting up there with jerry curls, eyeliner on, that's too black? That's too buckwheat, you mean? And they're worried about Arsenio Hall, pull that man off television and got some of the blandest people up there. Why? I'll tell you why. Because you like the program. Because he made you laugh. Because you watched it. Arsenio Hall had a good program. It was funny. And the ratings were shooting up too high. You know Ben Bereen did what they call blackface? Ben Bereen, brother, what are you doing to us in 88? Here we take all this time to liberate. We fought through the 60s and lost. We had a riot in the 60s. We lost. I wonder why we keep losing. You know why? Because we were very successful in the 60s in writing poetry. We just aren't no fighters, man. Stop fooling yourself. You be punching somebody and be trying to figure out how to stop. You ever engage in a fight with somebody and hope somebody break it up? When y'all got ready to get into a fight, y'all was ready. I'm going to duke him. I'm going to nail him. I'm going to do this to him. On the way to the fight, your friends is cheering you on. Yeah, I'm going to do this. Get in the fight. You be mad at your friends because they don't break it up. That's how you are. You're not no killer. You're not a killer. You're not violent. You've been pushed in the corner. If you put a mice into the corner, he'll attack you. You've been pushed, and now you're acting crazy. You can argue. Now, black person give you a telephone fight. They get you on a telephone, they curse you out. So if you're talking about meet me somewhere, I'll meet you. I'll be there. Just the opposite. If it's 10 miles this way, black person go 10 miles the other. You know that. Don't fool yourself. You're not no fighter. Don't be sucked into it by no revolutionary movement, marching around the street and get your head bashed in. It ain't worth it. Do it the other way. You understand? If I tell you the other way, you'll know what it is. Anybody who don't understand the other way nowadays is crazy.
Could you give me something on that would specify who the beast is that's spoken of in Revelation and all the way back to even the beginning of the Bible?
They use different words for beast, first of all. When you read beast, they have living creature in the language. And they just translate it as beast. Some books have went as far as saying dragon. Right? And dragon meant demon. A big demon. And the reason why they did that is because they wanted to make a difference between that gender when it's speaking of an animal as opposed to a man.
Differentiate.
You differentiate between when they speak of an animal and a man. And most of the time in the books of Revelation, when they're speaking about them, they're using a gender that applies to a human being, the way they describe him. They're using whom and ulaika instead of haulaika, you know, and hua, it. They're not using it, they're using he and they as beings for the beast. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so what happens is, it depends on where in the scripture they are and what they're talking about. I have let the physical devil in the community inside the hearts of many black people. So what's the difference? Explain that. Many black people know the truth and still live a lie.
Right.
They are just as much of a devil as any white person with white skin.
Right.
If you know that you're supposed to be in white and you got on black, tell me why you're doing it. All right, so now that would make you equal. Now, if the woman that you're looking at in front of you happens to be white, and she puts on white before you do, who's holier, you or her?
Okay.
You ain't answering the question. Who's holier, you or her?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you answer the question, not me. That's pretty rough. Yeah, it's rough. But it's true. Truth is true.